In this segment of the Third Eye View podcast, we go in on the latest story out in Washington, D.C. on the missing girls case. Stay tuned to hear our thoughts now.
Okay. Let's move on to our other story. Because you know us, we love getting diving deep into stuff. But let's look at the Washington D.C. crisis with the women missing, and how social media has come in to bring light to this situation uh, in a way that that's causing me to really rethink it. I came upon this story because it started to be an issue in the black community, where people were making YouTube videos about it. They're tweeting about it, and not living in the area, it's really hard to know what's going on. Uh, so so like everybody else, I'm like, oh, that's what is going on. So once I started doing that, and then you start listening and start looking through the between the lines of what's said and what's said, and then I start thinking about, okay, what's the story? Because I always go back to what Malcolm X said about about being critical of media, especially white media, and especially what white media has to say about black people. And the first time it hit me was when one of YouTubers I follow, they quoted the story in the Huffington Post. And I know a lot of black folks turn to the Huffington Post for their news and for their information. And I'm thinking, like, why do we look at the Huffington Post that's not run by us and is not run for us? I mean, last year they tweeted out a picture of the editorial meeting, for the Huffington Post, and it was all white women. So it's been making me think about stories that come from that source to begin with, because they're not. But black people, oh my goodness, I saw it in the Huffington Post. A lot of black people subscribe to the Huffington Post or the Root, which is another one that's not owned by black people and is not for black people, but it caters to black people. It is giving us this this story. And recently they hit out I know we talked about this before when they did the story with when Samuel L. Jackson was talking about the British actors playing Americans. They went and got a black writer to come on and on the Root and write a story. It's like, why is Sam Jackson saying this? So it again, that's one of those things. Is like, wow, this is the Root. Yet they use one black person to attack another black person who wasn't attacking anybody, but was making an observation in the middle of something. But now you have this in the Root. So who's controlling what? So here we are back to this Washington D.C. thing. Now it's all over social media. People are all upset, and I'm looking at, and as I started to share earlier, when you start digging into the story, this isn't a new story. The earliest thing I've been able to find since February, because they got a new commander for the DC Youth and Family Services Division, Chanel Dickerson, who has been tweeting about, hey, we have another missing person, another missing young person, which when she tweeted, when she makes those tweets to say, hey, these people are out, what they're missing, the follow-up never happened to say, okay, we found this one. This one's been returned unharmed, returned safely. And yet the narrative, the story has now become, oh my goodness, there's all these black women missing in DC. Why isn't the white media covering this?
All right.
And that's been an issue with just digging into the story. And now here it is 3 days later. And if you Google the story, you'll get a lot of things from the last 15, 20, 25, 15, 25, 5, 10, 15, 25, 24 hours ago 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 2 days ago, a couple hours ago. But there isn't a lot before until you start going further and further down the page. And then you're like, oh, wow, somebody did write about this. It's been going on since the new person came in. And they've been talking about, hey, I just wanted to make sure people are aware of it. And when you read those articles past the lead, past the first couple articles, you're like, oh, yeah. There hasn't been an influx of them. There hasn't been this new case of them. It's just, she's just letting people know.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was trying to just get it out there that it was becoming a thing, not something like big, but a consistent thing from the little bit that I read on it. Was that what she was trying to do?
Yeah, and from the Washington Post article, which is dated, way back in March 14th. Well, not way back, but March 14th is talking about what she said. But even before that, February 1st in the Washington City paper, which is more of an underground. It's not quote unquote mainstream, but it's one of those like a lot of cities have their kind of local city paper that employs stringers, and stringers meaning people get paid by the article or paid by the picture, and it's a profitable little business basically. You get a little bit of news, it's very local flavored, and you sell a lot of ads. So that's what city papers do. But also city papers are able to be, closer to the ground than, say, a Washington Post, which is a bigger organization that has, all these tentacles and all these things. And then they try and cover national, international news, and they have a section for the local news. Okay. But a paper like the city paper has that's their thing. They don't worry about national news. They just worry about what's going on in Washington and selling you some ads for Valentine's Day and Easter clothes and all that kind of stuff, and where to go for dinner. That's their thing. So when they're reporting on it, and CNN isn't, but CNN does, because all of a sudden it trends, because black people are like, some black people take half of information and they like run with it. Right. If it's on Twitter, bring back our girls. Oh my goodness, let me retweet that. Right. And never look into, hey, where did this come from? Why is this here? What's really going on? And I think we all do that. I'm not trying to say like I've never been affected by that, because I have. But the thing is that, after a while, wisdom starts to kick in, I think. You start to look and say, hey, wait a minute, I remember this. I remember I got caught up in this trend before, and it turned out to be different from, not necessarily false, just different.
Right.
I mean, that's how it got me. I kind of fell for the hype or whatever. But I mean, I don't know all the facts or what's what. But yeah, I seen that it was on Twitter, and I seen a couple articles on it, and I read, a little bit of the article, and I started posting about it. Then I seen a couple videos on YouTube, so I thought it was this big thing that was going on. And then late last night, we got into it, or talked about it, start asking questions. Basically, you were asking questions, I guess. And that made sense, like where are the parents and all that stuff.
Yeah, because that's the biggest thing, Chicago. D-Blaze and I was talking about this last night, is the fact that you allegedly had all these missing people, and you did not have one single image on the news or in the paper of some black family, some black mother crying for her missing child.
Right.
That's the thing that started to occur to me. I'm like, wait a minute, how come there's all these Congressional Black Caucus? Why is the FBI? And then yesterday they posted some church puts up the what do they call those things you stick in the ground? Some
flyer.
Not flyer, but they like mounted, and it it just had a name, a silhouette, a name, and the date they went missing, and they put them all around the church. Oh, okay. And I'm like, like out, where I am, if You get shot, you get hit by a car, something happened to you. You know, there's these little memorials. You think, just think back,
Right.
just think back. You've always seen memorials, even with Michael Brown and other people who have been killed by police. You know, there's there's uh, there's a reaction, and there's a physical reaction. You have weeping people on television. You have people calling for justice. You have crying mothers and brothers and sisters and dads and everything, but you never saw that for those folks in there. That's what got me this. That's what really hit me, and that's when I started looking into it.
Right. Yeah. Come to think about it, yeah, I haven't even thought about that. Yeah, you never saw because like my younger sister lives in D.C. So I was talking to her a couple of days ago. I brought up that I was like, because I guess my mom, she called her, and my mom, she didn't pick up the phone, so my mom was like, "Can you talk to her?" Because my mom heard about the missing girls in D.C. So we was talking and things like that, and she said, a few people talked about it, but it's not being covered by the media. So I'm like, okay. So and I thought, and she brought up the point, like, I'm surprised no one came on the news yet about it, and
Mm-hmm.
I never thought about that. No one came to the news crying, weeping, like, I've been going to the police station, and no one has told me anything. Like the normal story, about a missing child, and
Right.
none of that has hit the news. None of that's been out there. So I don't know if these stories are just old or people making up half these stories, or I'm not for sure. I don't know how to really respond on these stories because, like you said, it doesn't seem right. Everything is not linking together. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and that was the thing because I was wondering if we were even dealing with